What's up, everybody? Welcome back on this dreary, boring Wednesday. It's literally hump day. Nothing to do but Thomas Take Sports Podcasts. Very excited to say that I've done 3 already today. 3-part episode, 4-part episode, this being the final part. And I didn't want to have to do this, but it was one of the most submitted Thomas Take questions that I have had so far. What is my thoughts on the situation with Andrew Peters? I'm very frustrated to just my inner core to have this be a topic. Like the fact that I actually have to make this a topic of discussion is truly sickening. It really is. The fact that this is actually a topic in which we're going to continue to see it. It's not going to end here. It's not just Andrew Peters. I don't want to make this just about Andrew Peters. This is about coaching on a youth level, knowing what the expectations are of you as an adult coaching young kids. And the video was very inconclusive as far as whether he threw punches or whether he punched the youth hockey players or not. But the fact that there was even a scrum, the fact that there was even a struggle between both teams, obviously it's hockey, tempers flare, without a doubt, that is a part of the game. And as much as the NHL and other organizations within hockey have tried to take fighting out of the game, it will never be taken out of the game. It's always going to be a part of hockey. It has to be, because it's been since the beginning, and it's major. It's a major reason why hockey is what it is today. So with that being said, the situation was a youth hockey game in Western New York, I believe. Andrew Peters, the former Buffalo Sabres enforcer, where he's fought probably over 50 guys inside the NHL, maybe 40, somewhere around that range, maybe more than that even, gets into a struggle on the bench with other players from the opposing team. The players continued to fight each other, and Andrew Peters got involved, put himself in that situation, and the story is being, investigated. Andrew Peters is not, I don't think Andrew Peters is a bad guy. I don't know him, obviously, so I'm not going to say that he's a bad guy. I'm not going to bash, I don't want to bash him, but what are you thinking, man? Like, what is that? What was that? Why would you put yourself in that position as an adult? You're a youth hockey coach. You're a guy that a lot of kids probably look up to in terms of the fact that you played for the number one team in Buffalo. You played for the Buffalo Sabres. You were an enforcer on the Buffalo Sabres. You provided fans with excitement as a member of the Buffalo Sabres. And a few days, 10 years and 3-4 days to the day that you fought Ray Emery, you came to the defense of Marty Biron, who everybody loves in Buffalo. Marty Biron's like the favorite son of Buffalo. Nobody wanted to see Marty Biron leave, but he had to because Ryan Miller was the starter, all that stuff. He's like the Drew Bledsoe of Buffalo for hockey. Nobody wanted to see him leave. Miller took his spot, but, Buffalo was always his home. And Peters comes to his defense when a brawl breaks out between the Sabres and the Senators, in which Chris Jury got hit by Chris Neal, cut his forehead open, and an all-out brawl ensued. This was in February of 2007, 10 years ago. And Peters came to the defense of Biron, fought Ray Emery, who had a boxing background or whatever, and people loved him for it. He was infamous in Buffalo from that day on, and he has been ever since. He's got his own show, The Instigators. He does it with Craig Rivet. Sometimes I tune into it, and sometimes it's not that entertaining. But, I can't say that, I'm not going to, criticize the guy for doing something that he loves. He enjoys it. He does have a following, and he's a good guy. Why put yourself in this position? This makes you look bad, obviously. It makes hockey look bad. It makes hockey look bad because of the fact that he was a former enforcer. It makes enforcers as a whole look like guys that just like to fight anyone, regardless of age, gender. You know, he didn't punch any girls or anything like that, but if an adult can think in his mind that it's okay to get into a scrum with youth hockey players, I don't know what, I've heard all sorts of stories with other enforcers and, things like that. I don't think Andrew Peters is that guy, and I'm not saying that he is, but it just looks so bad. And I picked the topics in the Thomas Take mailbag that are the most submitted topics. Topics that people are going to talk about, that people have talked about. And I get 3 questions, one from Samuel, one from Eric, one from John, that state, what is my take on, the Buffalo Bills and the quarterback situation? Could they go after a quarterback? What is my take on as far as who's the best player on the Red Sox now that Ortiz is gone? And then I get this question, and I didn't want to have to talk about this, but it really made me mad, seeing that this was even a story. The fact that this was a reality, that a guy that was held in high regard as all he was in the NHL was an enforcer. He couldn't score goals. He wasn't getting, he wasn't passing the puck around, putting assists on to his stat sheet. He was a goon, for the lack of a better term. He was the Doug Glatt of the Buffalo Sabres post Rob Ray. And it's very frustrating that a guy like that would put himself in this situation. And it's a shame. It really is. I hope that things turn out okay for the guy. I hope that, it's just a misunderstanding and it's chalked up as, something like a slap on the wrist. But at the same time, I don't know if it should be, because this is, this really happened. This is a real situation. An adult hitting or putting his hands on a younger gentleman, on a young man. That's not approved in today's society. It's not 1970 anymore. You can't just go out and punch kids. It's just not that it was acceptable to do it then, but you guys know what I mean. It's just a very embarrassing story, and I hope that it turns out for the best. And I made this, Thomas Take is burning the headline, but I'm not angry. I am frustrated at the fact that this is even a story. This shouldn't have even happened. And the fact is it did, and it probably could continue to happen if it's, allowed. The more this stuff continues to happen, the worse hockey looks. And hockey is not really doing that well right now. Gary Bettman is probably one of the worst commissioners in sports, along with Roger Goodell. And they don't give they've tried to change the game so much, and this only aids the argument of them trying to take fighting out of the game, because they could now say, well, there's former goons that have been in this game that continue to exude violent behavior outside of hockey, so we're going to take that out of the game. That is what I thought when I first saw the Andrew Peters thing, that they could use this as a crutch to hang their hat on it, so to speak, and say, this is why enforcers need to be taken out of the game, because they're not good guys, they're bad guys, they're dirtbags, they're scumbags, they punch kids, they don't have any sort of common sense whatsoever. And that's not true. We listen to Rob Ray, on the commentating table. Rob Ray's a good guy. There's been other enforcers along the way too that have been good guys outside of hockey. They sign stuff for kids and whatnot. And this just looks bad. I really hope this doesn't turn into a thing, turn into a situation where the NHL decides even more so to take fighting out of the game, based on the fact that enforcers have violent tempers outside of hockey. They take their enforcer temperament into the rink, and they take it out of the rink. And that's not what I want. That's not what I want to hear for the future of hockey, and I think that is trending that way. Also, the fact that along the way, there's been, a bunch of times where hockey players have been suspended for their conduct off the field. There's Patrick Kane and other players along the way that have been, investigated. And the trade deadline is today. And one of the guys that is being shot by the Buffalo Sabres is Evander Kane. He went to Bottoms Up on Chippewa in Buffalo, 18 to 21-year-old club or whatever, I'm pretty sure. And he was ridiculed for the fact that he went there and bought drinks and had drinks with girls, and there was more to the story, but, it's just not... Whether he was right or wrong, the fact that this is even a story is just... It's very frustrating, and I hope that hockey players take note of this and try to be better role models. Not that hockey players are known for being role models, but maybe that's what needs to change. Maybe, the hard nature of hockey, the players themselves need to change their personas to be better role models and exude, some sort of adult responsibility. I mean, for an adult coach coaching a youth hockey team to let this happen is a problem. And that's an understatement. Whether or not he punched the kid, he put his hands on him, there was a scrum, there should be no scrum. There should never be a point in a youth hockey coach's mind or a youth football coach's mind or a youth baseball coach's mind where he thinks that it's okay to put his hands on a coach, on a player, or on a coach. It just, at least a coach would make more sense because he's that guy's age. If it's the NHL, that's another story. The Lindy Ruff, Murray, Ottawa brawl, where Murray and Ruff were going at it. That's on the rink. They're not going to try to fight each other in the parking lot, and if they did, they'd get arrested for it. So you can't take the persona in the rink and bring it to a youth hockey rink. I mean, the NHL and youth hockey are two completely different things. When you're a coach putting your hands on a player, it's two completely different things. When you're a youth coach especially. So I'm disappointed, man. It makes Buffalo look bad. It makes the fact that it was in Buffalo just doesn't make us look good. The fact that this guy is on public radio talking about the Buffalo Sabres. I don't know if he's going to get his show back. I don't know if they're going to do it again, but I would hope not. I really would, just in terms of not for a little while at least, because it looked so bad that this happened, and it will look even worse if they just slap him on the wrist and give him his radio show back. I think he needs to go to some sort of, anger management classes and really reevaluate his temperament to go off like that in a youth hockey setting. That was my final take on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. I'm not the aficionado of hockey. I don't watch hockey as much as I used to. The Sabres have consistently just retooled and spun in circles the last, 10 years pretty much. And it's I'm beginning to grow tired of it. I'm not beginning, I am tired of it. So, I haven't watched it as much. I'm an MMA fan. I'm an NFL fan. I'm a baseball fan. Baseball season's coming up. So, if it appears as if if I'm a little rusty on my hockey talk, I am. I'm more than willing to admit that. But I'm going to tackle the topics that you guys ask of me to talk about. And that was one of them. So, nobody's perfect. People make mistakes. But in that setting, you have to be held accountable. Tune in tomorrow for the Chicago Bears' third overall selection. Who should the Chicago Bears take third overall? And a preview of the future of the Chicago Bears. Take care.